Hi, welcome to your editing module. So in the guide, I mentioned this, but I do want to reinforce this message. Editing is really as you can go as deep as you want to, or you can go as light as you want to. When I started podcasting, I was editing like a crazy person and spending, and not like actually, let me take that back, not like a crazy person, but I was editing because I wanted to scrub out every imperfection, every pause I wanted to tighten up. Every time, there was an which I happen to say quite a bit, and I even can recognize the pattern of my voice now in the recordings. I would scrub all those out. I would listen to the whole length of the podcast and really just try to tighten everything up as much as I could, because I really, really wanted it to be professional and perfect and just amazing in that sense. And then I started to really get overwhelmed with it, because if recordings were not happening, with a lot of time for me to be able to edit the podcast, then I was editing late at night. It was eating into time with my family. And honestly, that really was not my goal when I started podcasting. I actually had set a baseline of my non-negotiables. And a non-negotiable for me was spending time with my family. I did not want podcasting to take away from that. So hot tip on the side, non-negotiables are great to have when you start podcasting, because it really will help steer your ship. If you're starting to touch those non-negotiables, then it's time to really take a step back and think through, like, well, what am I doing here? Maybe I can simplify some of this. Maybe I can make things a little bit more streamlined. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. So for editing, as I mentioned, I used to really go in and scrub every single imperfection out. You really don't have to do that if you don't have the time or if you don't want to. Right now, the way that I handle the podcast is I download the audio files, and I'm going to walk you through the steps here. But I download the audio files from my platform, which my recording platform is Riverside. So I download all my audio files from them, and I actually move it over to a platform that is called Audacity. Audacity is free. It's a free editor. Really wonderful tool. I happen to really like it because it has a very old school look, which you are going to see because I'm going to screen share in a minute. And it made me more comfortable. As silly as that sounds, it made me more comfortable. Now, right now, my recording platform Riverside actually upgraded itself and allows me to edit in the platform. The only reason why I don't edit in the platform just yet is because I've gotten so used to this other procedure that I just haven't done it yet. But my platform does that as well. So you have to really, the reason why I'm sharing all this is because you have to find what's most comfortable for you. If it's using this kind of simplified platform you don't need to use, okay, well, so be it. Use it. Like, do what works best for you. You're going to hear that theme throughout this entire process, or throughout this entire guide, because that's really the crucial component here. You have to do what works for you. Something that someone else is doing, maybe somebody else writes up, discussion guides and to a minute edits down their podcast. You don't have to do that. This is your podcast. Do what's right for you. So I'm going to screen share here. You're going to get to see my other screen, which has my um my vision board in the background, which I don't mind. So right now you're seeing my other screen. And essentially what will happen is when I'm recording in Riverside and I download my recording, it comes over here to my downloads folder. You'll see me mention this when I get to the content organization, but I will take all my downloads that I need and move them into the appropriate folder. So you will see this is my actual main podcast folder broken down into seasons, etc. Because we're focusing on editing, I'm just going to highlight Audacity here. Now you see my Audacity platform. It's named Episode Template. What this is, when I click on it, is it will bring up my Audacity platform, and it's going to show you, let me find it. It's going to show you, here it is, my template. Now you can't see it because it is not zoomed in, but when you zoom in, you see this little line here. This is actually there is actually music layered into this template. The reason why it's called a template, here it is because I actually take my audio that I'm recording for my episode, I drag it and drop it right here into this gray area, and then I move it around to layer it in with the music. So let me show you how I do that. I am going to just grab any audio here, and I will just drag it down here. You see that it's lapsing time, pulling in MP3 files. My platform from Riverside allows me to download MP3, MP4, like any file I need. Audacity needs MP3 files, which is why I do it this way. So once I drag it and drop it, see, I mentioned that in the guide. If you can drag and drop a file, you can edit audio. So I drag it and drop it here. I zoom in. I always scrub out this little bit because it was an accidental ad and it's just there now. And then I will zoom in even further. And this is where you see, like, so you can see little gaps in your audio file. This is actually just background noise, that little thing. The more you work through audio files, the more you're going to be able to recognize what certain things are. For example, I am positive that this is an from me. That's what my voice looks like when I say I just know it now because I've been doing this for quite some time. As I just noted. And then you'll see these little gaps here. So these little gaps are natural pauses in your discussion. So it's either you recording on your own or you recording with a guest. You're going to see those little gaps throughout. I'm just going to scroll over because I want you to see they're everywhere. And it looks like it's a lot. And you're going to think to yourself, like, oh my God, there's so many gaps here in my conversation. Is it going to sound really choppy? Is it going to have a lot of weird pauses? You tell me. If you listen to any of my episodes, let me know. Are there really weird pauses? Because I don't scrub any of this out for the most part. If I happen to see a really large gap, like this, for example, I am positive that this is an and then this is silence all around it. So what you would do is in Audacity, you highlight it. I'm using a mouse. You can right click on it, cut that audio out. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, because I also layer in music, what I will do is this section up front here that you see no audio lines, for lack of a better term, that's all blank. So you can adjust this accordingly. You can take the blank out. Sometimes I leave it in and then I just make sure that when my voice does come into the track, it's lining up in a space where my opening music is actually starting to peter out a little bit because I do have a fade effect. On Audacity, these are the tools. And again, like the reason why I like this so much is because it reminds me of like old school when I was in college. This is how we did things. Like that's why I'm so comfortable with it. It's okay. That's what works for me. And guess what? My podcasts come out wonderful. So this is just what works for me. Eventually I might go better. I might do this better. I might do it in a different way. But for now, this is what works. And that's really, again, like something that I want to highlight here. What is going to work for you for now? Is it going to be you doing your production? Or are you going to have, you can outsource that. You know, there's actually quite a few folks, myself included, that produce podcasts for people. And it's just an hourly fee. And you just have somebody pass them your audio files, pass them what you want them to pass. They'll tighten up your episode, send it on over to you. If you don't feel like editing is going to be an area where you really want to lean into, you can outsource that if you have the money for it. At hiring somebody to edit your podcast for you, probably between $45 and $65 an hour, but depending on who you hire. Not too much of a fee. It's not a fee I want to pay, but like, you know, it's something to consider as well if it's a route you want to take. In Audacity, when you're done editing, you would go to File, you would save your project under a specific name, and then once you save it, you would export your audio. So you would click on export audio here, export it out wherever you need to do it in whatever kind of format that you need to format it in. It's incredibly easy. The way that I'm doing it, incredibly easy, not cumbersome, not something that takes up a ton of time for me anymore. Again, in the beginning, it was like at least an hour and a half, 2 hours per episode because our episodes in the beginning were about an hour. So what you would want to project, if you're really trying to figure out how much time you're going to need to edit an episode, take the time of the episode and multiply it by 2. So if you have a 30-minute episode, you're probably going to spend about an hour editing it because you'll have to listen to the entirety of the episode if you're going to scrub it in that fashion. If during your recording there was no watch outs for content that you don't want to put in there, if there was nothing major that needs to be scrubbed, Don't worry about it. I mean, you really can just put it out there. What I would recommend when you're recording, especially if you're recording with a guest, keep an eye on the timestamp, because when you're recording, you might hear something and say, oh, you know what? I want to scrub that out. If you write the timestamp down at 10 minutes, I realize that the guest said something that I don't, agree with, or I'm not in support of, or maybe I said something off, or we just needed to re-record. Well, then mark that time frame down, and then you're able to go back easily and edit it versus having to listen to the whole podcast all over again. You just will pick these things up as you go. But the reason I wanted to do this for you is because I want to tell you this. Make sure you take those little notes when you're recording. If you want to scrub something out, scrub it out. You don't need to keep it in there. If you want to keep everything in there, keep it all in there. Like, this is really whatever you want to make it to be. So I hope that you found the editing useful. Again, there's different ways to do it. This is just happens to be how I do it that works best for me. But you can find it. Make sure that you're double checking for when you do select your recording platform. See if they have editing capabilities. If they have editing capabilities, do it in the platform. It'll be much easier for you. I actually originally almost didn't go with Riverside as my recording platform because I couldn't add music in to their platform. Now they've upgraded, I'm able to do it. But that was my original drawback with them, was that I was like, oh, it's not a one-stop shop. I don't really want to do this. Again, easy peasy is my way, basically. And you'll hear my kids have said that. My kids picked up that little quote there. So, or that phrase rather. But yeah, just make it as simple as or complex as you want it to be. Totally up to you. It's totally your call. You're in charge here. However you want this to be is how it's going to be. I hope you found the editing useful. It is super easy, and I think anyone is able to do this. So good luck and take care.